imagine that instead of you spending time trying to fix what is not working, you just repeat the talent. Done. Thinking is one of the biggest obstacles for alignment. The sense of surprise is one of the most underrated emotions, but is one of the most important ones. That's another idea, like I am like this. No, most probably you are used to that. It's not a matter of knowledge. It's a matter of practice. We are not made to be creative. We are made to save energy. So when the brain is surprised, or the person is surprised, the level of awareness goes up, but not for long. Whatever happened and whatever happens, never give up on love.
Ligia Koijen Ramos is an applied philosopher, the CEO of In2motivation, and an enthusiastic explorer of human behaviour. She brings together philosophy, neuroscience, and real-world leadership to challenge conventional thinking and help people make better decisions, build stronger relationships, and lead with greater awareness. Known for turning complex ideas into practical insights, Ligia believes that changing your perspective can change your life. I hope you enjoy. Welcome, Ligia. Thanks for coming onto the podcast.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, my pleasure. So I would love to understand about your philosophy. What would you say are the principles that guide the way that you live?
Well, I've changed my values and the things that I believe in, some along the way in life, but some of them really stayed very consistent. And one of them is really congruency. So this idea that what you say is what you do, for me is the most important thing ever. So I'm very demanding with myself on that. And for me, that is also an operational principle for my life. It's like, if I cannot be congruent, I will probably not be there. You know what I mean? Another thing that is for me very important is what I call the possible truth. And this is because I don't believe that we can ever reach truth as the ultimate truth, but I think we can live upon the idea that what is the possible truth. That means that what we know right now, and what we see right now, that is also very important for me. And one of the principles I think that also I use in my life is the idea that we can always love. We can be mad with someone, we can disagree with someone, but we can, at the ultimate state, we can love someone as well. Someone and the animals and the nature. So I think that's something that I always focus. I'm not saying that I always able to do it, but I'm always focusing on, okay, what is the ultimate love here? So I think those are the principles that make me going around in life.
Right. And when it comes to congruency,
Mm-hmm.
how do you think, in your observation, what are the biggest obstacles to living in congruency, to living in alignment, it sounds like, with?
Yeah, I think um, we have some, but I think one of the ones that is coming to my head right now is the thoughts, our own thoughts, because is if I start thinking about what are you going to think about me, you know, what is right or wrong, and what should be, then I'm most probably going to lose my alignment. I think that is so us thinking is one of the biggest obstacles for alignment, because we have this idea that our thoughts are free, that we are thinking for ourselves. That this idea that you hear people saying, that's not true. So the our map, our mind map, as I like to call it, is not ours. Is created through education, experiences, culture. So we can be doing a very different thing. But when we start thinking and we use this mind map, most part of the times we are just responding to social bias, right? And that is one of the biggest trap for alignment, because we also want to look for the reasoning, like I'm doing this or I want to do that. What is the reason behind that? And some things will be very hard to find the reason, because they don't fit the mind map that we had until now. So if yeah, that will be for me, now that I'm speaking it out loud, that will be for me the biggest trap, us thinking incredibly.
It sounds like a pretty big trap as well, because
Yeah.
it's like what guides your behavior, not that it should, but what tends to guide your behavior the most is probably your thinking.
Not really. Not this makes it strange, but not my thinking, but let's say not the thinking in the terms of what is the meaning of that. For instance, one of the things that I think that really makes a difference in me is that if you ask me, oh, what this means, like imagine an event outside, I would probably look for maybe 5 different meanings. So I'm not attached to one unique meaning. And that's where you start, challenging the mind map. That is when you don't create the thinking, is the connection between thoughts, right? That's the thinking. So you connect one thought to another thought, da, 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 and then you create a story. That's thinking. I'm I have thoughts, but I'm not always creating that process, like this means that, and then means that, and then means that. Um, so I'm very driven by my own. I trust a lot my emotions to start. That I think is also something that most part of people will not be doing. Like if I'm angry, I I trust that, but I also know that that is me, most probably feeling that something is not fair or something, and I start exploring that instead of I should not be feeling mad, or I should not be saying this, because no, it's like, okay, I'm mad right now, and why I got so mad? What is happening here? So I'm much more. I start observing, and I see, okay, what is going on, and what is my relationship with this event. So is that is not so much thinking about it.
Hmm. Kind of observing the way that the mind is thinking
Yes,
and
yes,
questioning it.
yes,
Hmm.
yes, yes.
Yeah, and if we don't do that, then the map, or our mind map, as you were saying, is just going to dictate what we're doing
Yeah,
and how we're
yeah, it's going to be in automatic pilot.
right. Yeah.
So it's instantaneously in automatic pilot. And let's say, I'm not saying that we should not be always 24 hours per day without that automatic pilot, because saves us a lot of time. But that's not what should be, mark the way that we live. Not that automatic pilot.
So, how do you at Into Motivation you help people to change this internal map of reality,
Yeah.
their mind map?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Yeah. Some incredibly sometimes just make them realize that, for instance, yesterday I was doing a workshop and I was saying something like this, like, you need to accept that we are not naturally creative. So as humans, we are not made to be creative. We are made to save energy. And so that's to make ourselves safe. We are still very, in that sense, very, very, very uh, in our ancestors. I normally say that the world changed a lot, but us as humans, we didn't. We didn't. Um, so that means that sometimes just that realization that if we want something different, we need to work in our neuroplasticity, because that will not come naturally. So we are much more predicted, much more about habits, much more about routines that we even make maybe think. Um, Sometimes just giving that to people, new perspectives, and saying, "Hey, do you realize that this could be another thing?" That's something that sometimes people are not so used to anymore. But we also, of course, have tools and techniques, so we use a lot of neuroscience. We use a lot of the knowledge that we have available at this moment to impact that. Okay, of course. So our workshops and our trainings are very deep in that sense, because we really use science to support us. Um, but the thing is that sometimes, incredibly, people just need to see a different perspective. Someone saying, "Hey, I'm not seeing that situation or that problem as you are seeing it," and that start the conversation. Um, and I think sometimes that awareness is the starting point, for people to realize that, wow, I didn't even, realize how stuck I was in my own brain, in my own vision of the world. So that's the starting point, and then we use a lot of tools and techniques to support them. Yeah.
What are some of these tools and techniques?
We use a lot on the NLP, the language, and so we use a lot of NLP. But as I said, neuroscience as well. So we use the influence principles to really help the brain to expand. And we use a lot on the principles on neuroplasticity as well. So yeah, and we can, depends on the workshop that we are talking about, of course. Sometimes we use we always go for real experiences. Okay, we always make the context real. So things that we don't do, for instance, we don't do role plays. That's fake. People are faking it. So we really create the maximum that we can, the real context. So we don't fake subjects. We don't, if we want people to test something, for instance, imagine a feedback training, okay? We don't invent stuff like, oh, let's pretend that now you are the boss. No, we go for it. And sometimes we even ask companies to really put people that are really going to give feedback to each other in that room. So we are really looking for the real context, because I think sometimes what happens is that and I think is one of the points that a lot of trainings fail, is that it's super nice that they are, in that bubble, and then people cannot transfer that to the real life because it's not real, right? Was the ideal scenario. And and then one of the things that I see is that people cannot really transfer. Like, oh no, but I cannot do that because, yeah, my colleague didn't say to me what the actor said to me in the training. They're like, of course not. So that's totally what we want to avoid. And what I see is that sometimes people like that. They like to go out of the real context, but context plays a huge role, right? So we want to bring that to the workshop. We want to bring that to the training. We are not scared of bringing the real conflict to the room. I think
Hmm.
that's one of the things that really distinguishes us from many. I will not say all of them, but many of the trainings and things that people do.
Right. So bringing tools and techniques not into a virtual environment that simulates it, but into real practice.
Yes. Yeah, because for instance, if you think about it, um, when think about it, when you preparing astronauts to go to the space, right? They don't. They really put them in a chair that really rotates at the velocity. You know what I mean? So they recreate the maximum they can the real scenario. They don't explain to you that your head is going to rotate many moments for then how many turns per second. They put you there, right? And that's high performance. So I don't want to explain to someone what is a conflict. That will never work. I want to put that person inside of the conflict. And I'm the specialist, so I know how to heal the conflict. So that's where the learning start. And I think sometimes people just want, I normally say, we are not entertaining people. That you take people to a theater, to a game, to a party. We are not entertaining people. We are changing them and transforming them. And that requires NASA style. You know what I mean? It's NASA style. And we do that. And I think sometimes that's, if you ask me, that is what is necessary. But I know that is not always what people do.
With regards to neuroplasticity,
Yeah.
is there something that can be done? Because obviously the brain is always plastic, so to speak, and able to change. But is there something that you do to enhance the temporary neuroplasticity of the brain so it's even more susceptible to change?
Yeah, sometimes we tend to sometimes complicate a lot of this neuroscience stuff, but they are really simple. For instance, just the fact that, imagine people enter in a room, okay, and we do sometimes, this is really cool, and they have a break. They go for the break, and we shift the full room. We change the full room. No, not only like say changing seats. We put different colors. We do whatever. And it's so interesting because people enter the door and like, oh, what happened? What is this? Why are you doing that? And you see the questions and you see, the brain looking for routine. The brain looking for where are my stuff? My purse was there. Where is my purse? Oh, I have my glass of water there. What is my glass? The brain immediately wants to catch what is familiar. And for instance, when you just do this, you give this experience to people and say, people, what you are doing? What are you doing? And like, oh my God, like, where do I sit? People even don't know where to sit. Can you imagine? Like, where do I sit now? And like, in a chair? And they can feel the brain puzzle, looking for the puzzle. And this simple experience is neuroplasticity. That's how the brain like, I don't know this room anymore. I was here before and now I don't know. Where is my stuff? Try to take you. So for instance, you go with someone, with a friend to have dinner and they put that books, take the books away. And you see their brain like flipping out, you know what I mean? And that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Because then you get the experience like, oh my God, how my brain is, attached to stuff in 1 hour. Can you imagine what my brain does all this time that I'm on Earth? So, and then you experience panic. Some people experience panic when they cannot put things in the same place. That is how low they are in neuroplasticity.
Right, because although the brain is plastic, it also wants to conserve energy, as you were
Exactly.
saying earlier.
Exactly.
Therefore, if it doesn't need to change, it's going to be like, well, I don't want to change by
Right.
default.
Yes.
So when you dramatically change your environment like that, it needs it. So not only does it make it more sort of plastic to rearrange itself to adapt to its new environment, it becomes more plastic in general. So more things can go in and change.
Yes. Because you also get more alert. The sense of surprise is one of the most underrated emotions, but is one of the most important ones. So when you put people in surprise, the level of awareness increases. Yeah. So that's one of the games that we use. Like that's when I say that we use a lot of the notion of and a lot of the experiences in neuroscience. So when the brain is surprised or the person is surprised, the level of awareness goes up, but not for long. And that's also an experience, realizing that after maybe 10 minutes, everyone is feeling already comfortable. So that's how you can see that the brain is plastic. It will rearrange, and suddenly, very fast, you feel at home again. That happens with people when you go on holidays, right? The first days you go like, oh yeah, because you are discovering. After a while, like, oh, I know this city already. I know that bar. Oh, I saw that person 3 times. You know, that's how this goes. So the brain, you can see how plastic the brain is because it can really feel at home, really at ease. In a new environment in a short amount of time. But that is not the first thing that the brain does. It needs to be provoked. Because if it's not provoked, the brain is always looking for the established.
I suppose we could also do this in our own environment, right? Because you do it in workshops to shake things up
Yeah.
and cause surprise, but you could also surprise your own brain, right? If you
Yes.
were to rearrange your environment in your personal
First,
space.
For instance, I walk almost every morning. Okay, I never go for so for instance, I go from one path and I never come back to the same path. Never. And I'm always this idea that I want to lose myself. I want to get the sensation like, where am I? And when I'm say that I sometimes walk 10 kilometers. Like it's not like a half an hour walk. And sometimes I find myself like, ooh, where am I? That's magical. That's powerful. And you can do it for yourself. For instance, you never had that sensation that, for instance, happens a lot when you move houses, right? Or you change something in a furniture in your own house, and suddenly you're going against the couch. Like, what is happening with me? Because you shift the couch for a different place, or you move houses and suddenly like, oh, where is the light? Where is the light? That you can do that um, every time that you want. And is instead of creating the routine of looking for established, you create the routine of surprising yourself, of going for new places, getting getting lost. How many times I give that task to people and they say that was really hard to have the sensation that I don't know where I am. And people really struggle in a very simple thing, like they need to have a map. But yeah, for sure, you can do that for yourself, for sure.
Hmm. I'm not surprised that people find it difficult
Yeah.
because it goes so against what we're like. When you mentioned your habit of going a different path on your walks, I was like, yeah, that goes so against what we normally would do. Like we would usually create a path and then not even think, and that is our preference because anything else is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because
And you don't know, and then it's like this kind of thing, like, oh, but if I go there, I don't know if I'm going to take longer, if I'm able. So a lot of questions and doubts come, right? It's like, well, that is the intent, is to not knowing. But we are not, most part of us is not comfortable with the unknown. What is interesting is that if you put yourself a lot on that, so that's why you need to create always different ways of doing it. Because then some people say, oh, no, 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 no. I always like to lose myself even in a new town. So the challenge for you to be more neuroplastic is to always travel with a map.
to always travel with a map
Yeah.
so that you can allow yourself to get lost.
Yeah, to get like confused, to get like, oh, but this now I need to turn in that street, and that is not the street. So that's the thing, is that for me, for instance, because my days are very, programmed, da 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 da, having one moment in my day that I don't know what is going to happen helps my neuroplasticity. But for instance, imagine that my days, I never know what is going to happen. Then is creating the opposite. Makes sense?
Because
Because then my habit is to do different things every day.
right, so it's
My neuro,
no
it's
longer
not longer.
surprising the brain.
Exactly.
All right.
So you are looking for the surprise. The way that you reach it is going to be different for people. Yeah. It's the same thing that, for instance, let me give you maybe another example. People that are very um, direct and very in their emotions, they go a lot for being direct, being practical, and da, 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 da. is incredible because sometimes they say, oh, I'm doing sports. And I like, what sports are you doing? And they tell me, for instance, weights. And like, okay, but that's the same quality of you being direct and pushing yourself, that's the same quality. The challenge for sometimes for this person is to go for a yoga, very slow class. And some people will say to you, oh my God, I cannot do that. Like, that's too slow. That's too, It's like, but that's to create this difference. But you're going to see that most part of the times people will choose what they fits on their, structure.
Hmm. So, in a way, unless we're actively doing this, aware of this, and applying this principle, we're gonna gravitate towards being quite unidimensional in a
Yes,
way,
yes, yes, yes.
and thereby missing out on so much of who we are that we're completely unaware of.
Yes,
Because,
because we also have that idea, right, that we are this, we are that. And I said, well, you will be a lot of different things if you change your context. So that's another idea. Like, I am like this. No, no. Most probably you are used to that. And that's most part of the times what makes us also be comfortable with that. Like, oh, I like more this or more like that. And are you sure that you like it, or are you used to that? I don't think people are things, things in the sense of I am. I think people are doing it, and that's a totally different story. But that's how I see it, at least in my experience. And working so many years and with so many people, I never, to be honest, I never saw anyone that I say, okay, you know what? This person is this. Like, cannot go out, cannot go out of there. Some people take a little bit more time. Some people need, let's say, more drastical measures. But I never saw anyone that I thought, oh my God, this person cannot be anything else. Um, that's my, at least my experience, and also with myself and with, and also I think science is showing us that. Science shows that we can, you know, our own whole body changes in 4 years. Like, we don't have even the same cells. So why the rest will be done? You know, that doesn't make a lot of sense, right?
hmm. So you're saying that we're not the way we are. That's not who we are as a fixed thing. It's often what we're used to. Then would you say that there is sort of an authentic you and that you can, yeah?
The one that I'm today. I can only be authentic in the moment. There's no possibility of someone saying I'm always authentic. Like, I doubt it. And what that means as well. But I think authenticity, for me at least, is what you see right here, right now. It's me. This is me talking. This is what exactly what I'm thinking. I'm not trying to make this beautiful, or I'm not trying to make this whatever. This is me. Doesn't mean that, for instance, if we speak tomorrow about the same stuff, I will give you exactly the same answers, because I don't know if tomorrow I have the same vision or idea or opinion. And this is me being authentic here and now. But I cannot guarantee that this authentic person that is speaking to you will be the same authentic that is tomorrow. I don't know. So it's only possible to be authentic here and now. I cannot predict authenticity. I don't know.
So then if there's no fixed, this is who you are
Yeah.
in stone, and you're always changing, as you said, every cell of the body is like new in 4 years. What are we?
Living. we are we are living beings. That's enough. That's so enough, you know what I mean? I think we try to create something that doesn't make any sense, like purpose in life. What that means? What that means? I know that some things I want to be doing, and I know now today some things I want to be doing. I don't know if I want to be doing when I'm 90. I don't know. I know that some things make me feel better than others, but I don't know if tomorrow that will be the same. My grandfather died with like 1 month of becoming 100 years, okay? And I remember the last conversations that we had. One time I asked him, hey, how is this? You know, what is to be 100 years almost like? And he looked at me and said, a big joke. It's a big joke. Sometimes he said to me, I look and I'm like, no, I don't have 100 years. No, that's not okay. No, I have. I have. And then I look to people and I see people having conversations around me and I go like, I hear the same stuff so many times. And I said to him, doesn't it get boring after a while? Like, and he said, well, after a while you see the world a little bit on repetition. It's like seeing the same episode again, but then you start detecting other stuff. And I'm like, okay. But, you know, we make this life stuff much more complicated than it is. Because and that is another default, as humans, we need meaning. Again, we cannot be on the unknown. Like, what is my life all about? Just live. Just be there. Why that is so bad? Because we are so stuck on the need of meaning. Because with meaning, we know how to operate. Oh, if my I'm I'm making this a joke because I find it a joke, to be honest. I cannot make this in a serious conversation. When people say to me, oh, my purpose in life is to help others, I go like, okay, so what that means? Oh, I know, I'm going to volunteer. And like, okay, that is an easy one. Yeah, it's also the first thing that comes to my head. Like if I think about helping people, let's go for the easy part. Okay, let's volunteer. Oh, I'm going to be a coach. I'm going to be this. What is this? The map. It's jumping in again. It's saying to me, okay, if my purpose is this, oh, okay, it's a bunch of behaviors that immediately pop up on my mind. So that's what people are doing. Trapped. Trapped in that idea that meaning will solve things out. Will not, because life, it's not about that. Life is about living it. Just breathe in, breathe out, and feel whatever comes with that. What are your emotions? What do you want to be doing? What do you want to say today? What do you want to say tomorrow? let's do it. But this is very out for most part of the people. They need to know.
Yeah. It sounds more also like the way of thinking that children naturally gravitate towards, which is
I must
just
say,
spontaneous.
yeah, I must say that I got this from my middle daughter. One time, she was very small, and I said to her, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "Living." And she still says that, you know. Sometimes if you ask her, hey, she's 10, 11 now, and if you ask her, what are you doing? And she's like, living. So I said, that's a good thing, you know. So I got that expression from her. And yes, it's exactly that. It's exactly that. Um, the curiosity of children is something that is one of the things that I really make an effort to keep my children in that curiosity. Like we don't have all the answers. We have the truth that is possible right now and today. Tomorrow, the world can be such a different place. And I think we lose it with growing up. Yeah.
So curiosity, you'd say, is a way of helping ourselves adapt better to our environment, to our evolving environment.
Yeah, it's keeping us alive, you know, in the good sense. It's like curiosity is what gives us progress. Curiosity is what allows us change and transformation. Uh, in the moment that we think, oh, this is it, and we all have something that we say, okay, I believe in this right now, and that's fine. But allowing as well, like a little bit of, is really this? Is this really the thing? Even if it's once in a while, I think is what allows us to really bring progress to ourselves and to the world. It's curiosity.
Is there a practice that you could recommend that uses maybe curiosity focused on this internal map, this mind map that we have, to maybe identify our patterns and identify what we could do maybe to change this map?
I think. Well, let me think. Mm, I think when we take, let's say, when we decide, like today, I'm going to be curious about it. Whatever. Today I'm going to be curious. I normally say one thing. I'm going to take my glasses. I normally, when I'm doing working with groups, I say, relearn or bring again the expression of, oh, just go around one day, you know, without this, oh, I know this. Instead of this, go like, oh, really? And see what happens. So I could give you, oh, go more artistic. Go. I don't think, yeah, if you like it, I like it. But, you know, I write a lot, I dance, and I do this more artistic stuff because I like it. But I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's necessary. I think sometimes it's just you go to a friend, for instance, you know someone for many years. You think, I know this person. I know how he's going to react, and I go, and suddenly you go to have a coffee with him, and instead of you going like, oh yeah, you go like, oh really, and see what happens.
You mean like your your attitude?
Your attitude, instead of saying, first, imagine you are my friend. We are going to have a coffee. We have a coffee every week, and we talk about life. Okay, so I know you. I know what is going on in your life. Well, we talk of normally. Imagine that's the case. Today we are going to have that coffee. And normally you tell me your life because I know what is going on. I go like, oh yeah, yeah, I remember that you told me that. I remember. Yeah, so but now what happened? So I go like this. And this is well, I know that. I'm already processing and I'm already creating my own story. Instead of that, you tell me, oh, Lisa, you know, this and this and that. Like, oh, really? Zip it and see the other person. And you're going to hear things that maybe you never heard before. It's incredible how this works. Don't fill in the conversation. Just put out, like, oh, really? Like, with surprise. Stop and let the other person talk. And you are going, sometimes I get people saying to me, we are friends for years and he never told me this. Like, why? Because you were in the expected conversation. You say this, I say that. This is not a conversation. This is basically a monologue. Like, you are talking to yourself, and there's no time for that surprise. Like, oh, I don't know that. Tell me more about it. You know? And I think of course, we do this all the time. And I'm not saying that you need to be 24 hours per day in surprise mode, but sometimes do it just to see what can come from there, what you never heard before, what you were not aware before. You know, that's an amazing exercise, and for free, doesn't cost any money.
Hmm. So surprise is, it sounds like, a powerful tool to help instill personal transformation.
Yes.
In your experience, what would you say most people misunderstand about personal transformation?
uh, I think the idea that will be done, like, oh, I'm going to this workshop and then I'm done. Oh, I'm going to this retreat and it's done. You know, oh, I'm going to. It's almost like this, like idea of cure. I'm going to be cured, fixed. Nothing is going to happen anymore. It's like, well, that's not the case. Um, Personal development transformation is information. Is not is not like done. It's not closed. It's just a little bit more information about you, how you deal with stuff, what can you do, what are the possibilities, what happens with other people, and you continue that discovery. So I think sometimes people want things solved. Like, this is solved. Like, most probably not. Most probably not. And I think that is one of the biggest things.
Hmm. And often, when you go to a workshop or a seminar or something, there is also the illusion that, oh, this is done now, because you're getting the information. It feels very satisfying to make those connections. But then often there is a gap between knowing and doing.
Yeah.
How how do you help people bridge that gap?
Yeah, that's why we bring the context. So we say, I like to think about the workshops as a lab. We are really going to test it. So when you get that lab instead of a classroom, you know what I mean? Most part of the times people remember the experience that they did in high school. Yeah, that thing exploded, and because yeah, it's an experience, it's different. So, but you don't remember the history classes. So that's the difference. So we make the workshop the lab. We transform that in a real lab. So you are going to work. You are going to do it. It's not only us explaining, or it's not only us delivering the tools. We are going to give the tools to you for you to use them. And I think sometimes I think along the way we lost this idea. My grandfather, yeah, I'm very attached with my grandparents, and I particularly like older people, old people. I like to hear the stories. I think they have like, but even that, right? We stopped talking to our oldest. We stopped talking to them. We even do something worse, like saying that they go back to children to be children. They don't, you know. They pretend they do. Uh, that's another story. But one of the things is that with my grandfather, both my grandfathers worked with the hands. Okay, one was had a garage with working with cars, and the other one with wood. Okay, and he had a farm. He was also a wine producer. So I had my grandparents, both of them, very end, like doing with their hands, and I could see what they were doing and da da da. So today, and I learned a lot with them, a lot. And my favorite thing to do when I was a child was to be next to them. So I'm the type of woman that goes to the garage and knows what the mechanic is doing, what sometimes they don't like. So I know what my car works. I know what is going on, you know. So sometimes they're like, but that's the truth. I know cars because I was there looking to my grandfather. I was not doing anything. I was just looking to them. And then sometimes he was passing a tool and saying, hey, do this screw and do the, you know, but only when I was ready to receive the tool. So he was preparing me to receive the tool. And with my grandfather, the one that was working with wood, the same thing. Many years I was there looking at him, da, da, da. And then one time he gave me a tool, you know, and I know how to work with wood. And I do a lot in the house, but sometimes people get super surprised. But that's the thing, is that if you don't do it with your own hands, sometimes with supervision, you know, someone saying, hey, go more there, go more there. It's only here. And here looks amazing. But then you don't have any reference to put it in real life. Because again, in your head, looks possible, right? And you don't have the challenges of, for instance, talking to another person. You learn how to deal with conflicts in your head, and you get a map and a structure. Like, oh, in a conflict, do this and do that, and like, and the other person, right? What is the role of the other person in this? So most part of the times people go out, for instance, of a conflict training, and they still don't know how to deal with a conflict.
Yeah, they could just explain it to someone, be like, this
Yeah,
is exactly how you deal with.
yeah, and they give them a framework, and they think is enough. And people understand frameworks. You know, if you ask them, they go like, "Oh yeah, and then I need to do this." They understand frameworks. People are smart, right? And I see this a lot, like people very smart, very intellectually, very very high level of intelligence. But then when it's like the real life, um, they cannot do it. So it's not a matter of knowledge; it's a matter of practice.
For someone who maybe has gone to a workshop or a seminar and learned some things that they believe this can really make a difference, and they're not putting it into action, what would you say, like, or what can this person do to start applying?
Just create the scenario, create the lab, create the possibility of you using it. Don't run away from create. If the possible sometimes happens, right? For instance, sometimes people say to me, they did imagine a public speaking course, and they say, oh, I don't have any near possibility of doing a talk. I don't have that. Like nothing is, I don't do that normally. I said, okay, pick up your phone and record yourself. Create a story and record yourself. Send to some friends. Record yourself, send to some of your friends and ask them, what do you think about this? I remember one time, that's a funny story. I was in university, and then we were doing something, and they wanted to test me because I wanted to be part of the theater group. And they wanted to, test me to see how I that was. But was in a season that was nothing there. So I didn't have even a possibility to have a small role or nothing. It was no rehearse going on, nothing. You know what they did to me? They took me to the center of the city in a busy afternoon, and they said to me, do a speech about shrimps. I'm like, and I was like, excuse me? They brought a chair, a bench. I needed to stand. And they said, do a speech about shrimps. And I'm like, huh? And I was like, wait. And then they were like, start. And I needed to do it in front of a busy place in the center of the city, with people looking at me like, what is she talking about? And I was talking about shrimps without any preparation. And of course, in the first 5 minutes, I was probably all red, sweating. And you know what? After 5 minutes, they needed to stop me because I could keep going talking about shrimps. That's how it goes. Sometimes you need to put yourself in an awkward situation and provoke the place that you can test. Create your own lab. Be creative in that sense. And if you don't have like, oh, I don't have the possibility or I don't know how to do it, just get creative. Just go and do it the way that is possible.
Create your own lab.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a very different way of, again, the way that our brain will by default lead us to. By default, we're not going to be creating a lab. We're going to be running on autopilot.
Yeah, and I think sometimes also people, instead of creating the lab, they are going to look for more knowledge. Let me take another course. Let me take another, like, you didn't apply the first one. So if you don't apply the first one, don't run to another one. That's
just for a dopamine hit.
Yeah, exactly. Just to get the sensation that I'm learning, I'm evolving, I'm progressing. No, you're not. No, you're not. You know that, for instance, one of the things that people get highly surprised is that we do NLP certifications, right? And I say to people, hey, you do an exam and you get your certificate, but you can lose it as well. It's not an eternal thing. So if I see you not applying it, if I know and I go around, I know everything. So if I see you not applying, you can lose it. And people are like, what? Like, yeah, because you are not applying it. And it's called practitioner. It's someone that practice. So if you are not practicing in yourself, you are not entitled to this diploma. And people get highly surprised with that. But imagine if universities were doing this as well. That would be nice, right? So yeah, it's not a guarantee. Having the knowledge is not a guarantee.
Would you say that there's some sort of inner conflict that's occurring that leads people to be sort of perpetually on the chase for more information and not in the application zone?
Yeah, because I think I think people really believe that knowledge is enough. For instance, the other day was a discussion about a person. She's a I don't know exactly what she calls herself, but she gives a lot of advice in parenting and dealing with teenagers and kids and whatever. And she's really good. She's good. I like her. But she's not, she doesn't go for the common stuff. She's very observative, and she used that observation. And one of the things that people were using to put her down was, oh, but she doesn't have a degree in psychology or whatever. So that's what people do. It's like, sorry, I'm so sorry, but I know that a lot of people study many years, but that's not a guarantee that you are doing a good job. But uh, we learned that knowledge is what we need to aim for. I have people, for instance, I have people saying to me, "Oh, but are you really a philosopher?" No, 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 no. I just, create that name for myself. Like, what do you think? Um, but the thing is, and when I say to people, but I'm not a philosophy teacher. I really do. I produce. I write every day. I think about things in a different and in a scientific way. And people are like, oh, so it's not that you have a degree in philosophy. No, I have that to start with. I started there. And then I did a lot of different stuff. So, but for instance, another idea, and I think it's connected. The idea, for instance, that science knows everything. Only someone that never studied epistemology can say a very stupid thing like this. I love science, but I know how science works and how limited it is. And that's one idea, right? If we believe that science knows or discovers stuff, we are totally out of in a hallucination, a collective hallucination. But we believe that, or most part of the times people believe that, right? Nothing more far from the truth.
Yeah, if we don't question science, it's a little dangerous because even though it, as you said, the science is amazing and in many ways very sophisticated, has brought us amazing things. And at the same time, there are some real limits to the paradigm of science and to the framework, and it's just a framework of capturing and understanding reality. It's
Yeah.
not.
And science is made to reply to one question. So everyone needs to understand that everything that is developed in science starts with one question. And they are trying to prove and give an answer to this question, not to all the questions in the world.
And what
So,
was this question?
depends on the study, depends on what is in the lab, but it's one question. It's not. So what I mean is that science, for you create a study, whatever you do a study. Your study is framed by the question that you have. So every time that you read a study or someone says to you, oh, in this study, 90% of the people or whatever, you need to ask, what was the question? Because all the work was framed to reply yes or no to this question. So you cannot generalize the findings of a study, for instance, in a universal way, because you need to know what was the question. because that study only replies to that question.
Yeah, usually the brain shuts off as soon as it reads studies show, though.
Exactly. And I read a lot of studies per week, and sometimes I go like, excuse me, for this you have studies with 50 interviews, 50 in one day. I can have more than that. I can have more information about that question in one day that these people got in a study. 50 people is nothing. But in the moment that you see, oh, study, like, okay, like, no, you need to ask what was the question, what was done, what is the method, and a lot of studies, unfortunately, are not even, let's say, clean on the method. Not just not to go there as well. So yeah, we need to question things. We need to. It's important.
Hmm. Speaking of questioning, bringing it back to philosophy, uh, what is one question that you would say someone should ask themselves, maybe on a regular basis, if they want to grow as a person?
Why I'm doing what I'm doing.
And you would say the purpose of this question would be?
To really investigate what is the trigger for everything that you do. The small things like, oh, I'm whoa, I'm screaming with my so every time that a kid, I have 3 kids, so I know what I'm talking about. So every time that one kid comes, I'm reacting to them like, what? Like, whoa, 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 what? Why I'm doing this? Why I'm doing this? Like, wait, what is happening here? I'm mad. I'm frustrated. I'm all, with my hormones crazy. What is going on here? I want to know myself better. I want to know my triggers. I want to know my emotions. I want to know my values. I want to know more because I don't know every time everything. So even about me, I'm curious. I like, wow, why I'm doing this right now? Why did I spoke like this? For instance, one of the things that I'm sometimes very curious. I don't know if you notice in this podcast, I sometimes do that. When I get enthusiastic, my voice goes all the way up. So I start picking out, wow, wow. And I'm like, wow, I did it again. Why I did this? And in this topic and not in this topic. And this. Continue asking yourself why I do what I do. Is the intention is not to reach an ultimate answer. Is to keep investigating because you are always changing. And for instance, yeah, I'm doing things now that I'm almost 50 that I was not doing when I was 30 or 40 or 45. You know what I mean? And the opposite as well. So I'm a different person, maybe every day. So I want to know why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Hmm. Again, like understanding the map better and questioning it, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah, getting a little bit on the okay. And for instance, that's why I know that for me congruency is really important because I get highly disturbed when congruency is not at the room. I get highly disturbed. And I realized that by question like why I get so irritated with this or that. Why? What is happening here? And that's when I realized that congruency not only is an internal, very important thing for me, but is also very important when I'm with other people, for instance. That is necessary. But I realized that by that investigation. So yeah, for instance, that's something that can come along.
Hmm. Yeah, so you can understand yourself both on the micro level of like, why do I feel triggered by this particular situation? And then also on the macro of like, why am I doing this in life?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And if that is the reason that you want to keep, for instance, imagine that I'm thinking about someone that I had a session with, that the person, even if she has a very strong position in terms professionally, you know what I mean? She, in some moments, she really shrinks herself, like makes herself very small. And it's like, okay, but why are you doing what you're doing? And then realizing if I want to keep that, if I want to keep that trigger, if I want to keep that rolling, or if I want to stop it, right? So that's something that is important for us to check, I think.
How do you stop it if you want to stop it?
Some techniques, some techniques depends what it is, of course. What is the trigger? Is if it's a thing that comes from the relationships this person build, the beliefs that the person has, depends what the trigger is coming from, and then you apply different tools and different techniques, of course, different protocols. Can be very different stuff, but it's important to know and also to, because then you are able to decide if you want that to continue being a trigger, right? And sometimes you want it, sometimes you don't.
Hmm. Yeah. And then the first step is obviously awareness, which we're often not aware.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
You say in one of your videos, maybe the only thing that you need to be doing is realizing your own talent. It was about confidence.
Yeah,
Could you elaborate on that?
I think it's connected with this idea of us being so used to what is not working. So we are very focused on what is not working. What is not working with us, what is not working with other person, what is not working in the world. That we forget to say, okay, but what is working? And imagine that's my idea behind that thing. Imagine that instead of you spending time trying to fix what is not working, you just repeat the talent. So you just repeat what is working. Done. It's done. Because when you repeat what is your talent, when you repeat, when you know what works and what is easy, and because that's another thing, is that what I see a lot is that when it's easy for the person, people tend to not give value to that. Needs to be hard, you know what I mean? Needs to be difficult. So, for instance, let me give you an example. I'm really good at talking. I talk and I can talk about different stuff. And it's easy for me. But most part of the times, people say, I feel that it's very easy for you. I said, but it is. It's not that you feel that it's easy. It is easy. And people are like, oh, really? So you don't prepare? And I'm like, no. Oh, and then they start taking credits from me. Uh, Oh, but so you are going to do a talk and you don't prepare yourself? Well, most part of the time, like what preparation are you talking about? I'm not 2 weeks rehearsing anything because first I don't remember, but my brain is not like that. Second, I if I do that, I will lose the impact with the audience. So no, I don't do that. But I know what I want to say. Yeah, I know what I want to say about the topic. But people start like, oh, but you don't prepare. Uh-huh. Oh, uh-huh. And then suddenly, sometimes they say to me, with many years of experience, they always try to make to sound that I worked a lot for this. And I'm like, well, I was always a little bit like this. Even when I was younger, you know. Um, but people always want the effort, and I think I always say, "What is your talent? What comes to you easy? Do that more instead of looking for what doesn't work." And the things that you need to overcome, and the things that you need to work, and the things that you need to develop, and the things that will come along when you are using your talent more. For instance, when I did radio for many years, okay? And what happens is that I got in the radio because I was good at talking, but I was not so good as I'm at today, right? So I did it so many years. I worked in radio for 10 years. Do you think that my last program was the same quality that my first? No, not at all. Okay? So I got improved in so many different ways, like the way I pronounce words, the way that I think. I became much faster. So other things came along that I still didn't had, but they came along when I was using my talent. So I don't, we don't, and I think sometimes people really, really focus too much on what is not working instead of saying what comes supernatural for me, what is not an effort, what I even enjoy. For instance, I danced classic ballet many years, okay, and I had moments that I needed to train 4 hours each day. Was a lot, you know. And a part of all the things I needed to be there preparing myself for 4 hours was pain all over the place. But I enjoyed it. Was a talent for me to dance. I could put emotions. I needed, of course, still the dedication, but I was using one thing that for me comes naturally is enjoying music, is enjoying dancing.
Yeah, and we often overlook our talents because they're easy to us. So we think, well, there's nothing special about what I'm doing right now. It's just easy. It doesn't feel
Exactly.
like a talent.
No, and doesn't feel like something. Sometimes I even hear this like, oh, but no one will pay me for this. It's so easy. Like, that's exactly what people pay for, you know, because it's so easy, so natural. It's like, and that's maybe is the best place for you to make money because it's easy, you are good, and you make it fast, and you learn. So you get better and better and better and better. Um, but seems like people, yeah, I think it's also how we are raised, looking for the fact, looking for the red mark, and that is what you need to focus on. Uh, I don't know if that is the best way. I will not say that is the best way. Um, but I think it's also the idea that things are silos. For instance, If a child is bad at math, um, I had a teacher, math, that will say this. He said, if a child is not so good at math, don't teach her math. Show her math, for instance, with a poem, because maybe they like poems. But don't insist of teaching her math. If go play a game and show her math through a sport, you know what I mean? And I totally believe that.
Yeah. The education system has a lot that it could do to change,
No,
doesn't it?
don't tell me about it. I'm very critical, maybe because I was inside of it, but I'm very critical. Yes.
I would like to address emotions.
Uh-huh.
Um, Another thing that you say in one of your videos about our emotions as human beings is that we spend a lot of time and sometimes we pay a lot of money to become numb, and we forget that emotions are
I said that.
an
Sometimes I say
yeah.
smart stuff. Yeah, yeah, it's true.
It's like, oh yeah, that's a good idea.
This is a good idea. Who said that? Yeah, yeah. It's so it's devastating, to be honest. I get very sad with that because people are paying, are paying retreats, are paying yoga, are paying therapy, are paying, to get to a place that I go like, why are you taking the human from you? Why are you paying for that? And even worse, people think that they are cured, but they are just disassociating themselves from the world. They are just numbing themselves, and and the industry lives with that. You know, the marketing goes around that. Like, if you do this, you will feel better. How that is even possible? No, probably you will still have days that you will feel miserable. So it's not about not going to those days. It's about how many days it takes you to recover, to recalibrate. So it's not avoiding those days. And don't get me wrong, a lot of people, when we do, for instance, NLP, I always do an interview with people before they enter the training because I want to tell them, hey, this is not a cure. You are not going to be cured. You are not going to solve the problems, all your problems. You are gaining the possibility of choice. That's a totally different game. You are getting the possibility of seeing things in a different perspective and take the decision about what you want to do. I'm going to give you an example, and I think you know this. So when my husband passed away, I know all the tools. I have them all in my bag, my pockets. I meditated and I study meditation and hypnosis. I went to meditating caves. I did whatever you for 7 years. I studied that. Okay. I have my trainer's training in NLP. I know how to reframe the world. Don't get me wrong. I know all these things. And I didn't use it for 2 years in a row. I committed myself to say, I'm not going to meditate anymore. I meditated every day. And I said, no, no meditation. Because I want to give my system the pain. I want to give my system the emotions that I should be having as a human being that just lost. I didn't lose, but just left and saw her husband pass. I didn't wanted to use any of my techniques, and I know them all, and I give them to people, and I said, no, if you need to cry, you cry. If you need to question your life, you question your life, but not from a place that is numb. You do it from the place that is human, the human in you. So none of these tools should be used as a escape from the humanity, from the human that we are. That's dangerous. That is not ethical at all. At all, in my point of view. No, no, we don't use this to escape. You use this to choose, to we use this as a task, as a lab, not to shift away. And sometimes I even say to people, sometimes you need to resist the temptation of you have a bad day and going to your yoga class. Because for me, it's the same quality that you have a problem and you're going to drink. For me, it's the same quality. It's the same principle. It's exactly the same principle. Okay, one is more healthy than the other, hopefully, but it's the same principle. And I think sometimes people don't understand this, that you are still escaping.
Yeah, but the mind can trick itself and be like, oh, I'm doing yoga. Yoga is good for me right now. It's self-care.
Yeah, self-care is healthy, No, sometimes you need to cry your eyes out, you know what I mean? And saying, I'm miserable right now. I don't like this. And that's the thing. Um, so, and that sometimes is what people don't realize, is that the principle is exactly the same. You are just changing, the strategy, right? Sometimes people drink, sometimes people get drugs, sometimes people go to yoga classes. And I don't have anything against yoga. I'm talking about yoga. I could be talking about going to the gym to pick up some weights. I'm a yoga teacher, so I don't have anything against yoga. But that's what I mean is that people pay a lot of money to just run away, and but also the industry uses that. If you come here, you don't have more pain. They don't say this, but they put it like the reset. Like, yeah, people, you are coming to life, and life will still kick you in a way or another, some more than others, but life will still show up.
That's maybe not as attractive for a marketing campaign.
No, no, no. Yeah, but one of the things that I think, for instance, at least with me, what people say a lot is that this is real. This is not trying to make this beautiful or in a package. No, this is real stuff. Um, and real stuff is beautiful. I think I love real stuff. Um, so yeah, that's at least what I think people can relate with. You know what I mean? So it's like we are two human beings. So I'm not going to play the game that I know more than you, uh, and I'm not going to play the game that I'm going to save you as well, because I will not. Um, and yeah, I think sometimes some people also like to play the god thing and the goddess, and I don't play that game. No, I don't find it nice.
Yeah, fundamentally, life is challenging, and maybe it's not wise to try and avoid the challenge and use tools to make things easy in the moment.
Yeah,
But
and I think To be honest, I don't consider life a challenge. I consider life sublime. For me, life is really sublime. I love this word, and for me, represents what being here is. It's like it's no even the most, or let's say the thing that could look ugliest as a type of beauty. And I think that sublime idea for me is life. So it's not bad, it's not challenge, it's not good. Is this uh yeah, almost like a wave, right? Depends on the wave, depends what's coming. But the word sublime for me is a reference.
So even the yeah, as you were saying, the things that on the surface appear ugly or yeah, unwanted perhaps in the moment,
Yeah.
there is a beauty in there.
Yeah, it's life. It's an under beautiful life. Um I think we've, like, again, like for instance, even in death, right? We tend to focus, or people tend to focus on what is not there. And I go like, and what it is, what is there? For instance, one of the things that I say in my book, because I wrote a book after 4 years about the process, and I say something that is like, let me see if I'm not going to say it as probably is written, but something like, I my main decision um, after the death of my husband was, I want to keep being the person that I was because he loved me. I want to continue being that person. So, not, I don't want to be the person after that. I don't want to become a person that after his death. I want to keep myself in that place. He loved me, and probably still loves, for a reason. And I want to keep being that person. So not what is missing. I don't want to have the conversation, because also I don't feel like that. I don't want to have the conversation about what I cannot have anymore. No, I want to keep the conversation what I have. And I still have that sensation of being loved. That's what I want to keep. Yeah. But people tend to focus a lot on, oh, how, what did I lost? That's why I don't like the word. What did I lost? And how was it? And now I don't have it anymore. Well, you have other stuff. That's not about it. So you don't have one, you have the other. But it's that idea, more focus on what is there. And if that is love, why we don't stay there? Why you don't stay in that love? So just to give an example.
Hmm. Yeah, it's one of Newton's laws as well, right? There's no energy can't be created or destroyed, only transformed.
Transformed. Exactly.
So death is a transformation.
Exactly. But we name it as we lost. What? You lost what? For instance, one of the things that I really don't allow people to say to my kids, for instance, is like, oh, you lost your dad. No, she still has a dad. You don't lose a dad or a mom. You don't lose a husband. That is not like a key. You don't lose people. You don't see them. You cannot hug them anymore, but you don't lose them. That's ridiculous. You
Yeah.
like, doesn't make any sense, right? Because they still have a father. It didn't evaporate, right?
Just in a different form. In a different form.
Right. So, but this is how people frame it. That's how people even use language around it, and that's suffering. Of course, if you repeat to yourself every day that you lost, you want magic to happen and you're going to feel happy? No, you're going to feel miserable because you are repeating to yourself every day that you lost something. That is horrible. It's violent.
But you're saying initially when something happens, perhaps of this nature, perhaps of a different nature, but you're perceiving loss or you're perceiving something else that is causing quite a lot of uncomfortable emotions, you're suggesting don't gravitate first towards instantly saying, yeah, but I haven't lost anything. You're saying feel everything that you're feeling first.
But the thing is that, for instance, using this example, I think the one that is more concrete. Of course, you are going to look to the table, when the person is not there in the same place that was sitting. You have this emptiness, but that doesn't mean that is lost. Is that space that was there is now empty, and that is reality. So you don't escape from that reality. You don't try to, oh no, but I'm going to meditate and I'm going to see him. Of course, I can meditate and see him again with my, imagination. But the reality is that every day at the dinner table, no one is sitting there. And that is going to provoke emotions. Let them come. Don't make them, oh no, but no, like this is it. Doesn't take away the idea that, okay, I still feel loved, but in a different way, in a different form. And until I get these two realities together, right? That transformation is not done in one day, maybe never. But until I can mold and see, okay, what is this all about? What is the new truth? What is the new reality? I need to allow myself to and gets some days is really confusing, really highly confusing. Because, for instance, one of the things that, for instance, happens with me is that I have photos of my husband everywhere, in my office everywhere, in the house everywhere. And every day I pass through a photo, I can literally start laughing because I still feel happy when I see this person, even if he's in a photo, right? But at the same, sometimes in a frame of 5 seconds, I sit at the table and I see the empty and like, whoa, it's empty. And this is not the same person, like sometimes not even 5 seconds away. You know what I mean? So one thing doesn't eliminate the other. You are living it all. But we also have that, right? If we feel one way, maybe we should not feel the other way. If I'm smiling when I pass to this photo, maybe I should not be missing the fact that he's not sitting at the table. No, they can come at the same way, at the same form. Or, like, it's not like one thing and then the other. No, we are not like, this is not like that. But we try to put things in binario, like 1 or 0, 0, 1. But doesn't happen like that. In real world, doesn't happen like that. they don't eliminate themselves.
To welcome the full human experience.
Yes. Normally I say it's not complex, but it's not complicated, but it's complex. As a lot
A
of
bit, yeah. It's a bit of a, what's it called? A bit of a paradox.
Yeah, so it's not complicated at all. I don't find it complicated, but it's complex because there's a lot of points, right? There's a lot of interests and outputs and inputs and things like that. So things are not normally black and white. Um, I don't think so, but yeah.
I'd like to ask you one last question.
Mhm.
If you could leave one thought to the world, what would it be?
Hmm. I have one that I think is following me is whatever happened and whatever happens, never give up on love. Appreciate, see what is there, see the beauty, see life. Um, that's what that love means. Is be here. Don't give up on that. Be present. Be real. That's what that love means. Yeah, that's for me. Yeah, if I have a thought, I think that's the one.
Beautiful.
Mm.
Thank you very much, Ligia, for coming on the podcast. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the conversation. It was really good. Thank you.